Hi guys, we're going to read the Apostolic letter that Francis released on the 11th of July, or whatever time it was in July when he did. Yeah. But we want to point out that Father Giuseppe, you've heard from the previous video that we've just uploaded, he was charged with treason by Francis. Father Giuseppe was acting under instructions from Pope Benedict. Pope Benedict wrote the apostolic letter, and Giuseppe followed the instructions of his boss, his king, his pope.
Right. So, before Francis was elected.
Well, no, the apostolic letter was...
Wait a minute here. The Pope had already agreed that I was Jesus Christ returned, right?
Oh, absolutely, yes.
And then he, with the other members of his staff, were then moving to make a surprise for me and put up the apostolic letter. Correct? At that point in time, the cardinals knew that the Pope, because we had told them ourselves, that the Pope had discovered that Jesus Christ was back on the earth and was writing an apostolic letter, which meant that the Vatican proceeded no further. The Church ended at that moment. As soon as that apostolic letter was listed and it was agreed, then that was the end of it. However, Francis, he doesn't want to give up being his position because it was all set up way back in time when he was narrowly defeated in the conclave 2005. So this is all part of the world order setting it all up. They want their puppet in power so they can do what they want. However, because Giuseppe carried on doing what he was supposed to have done by knowing that Jesus Christ is back, he's working now for Jesus Christ. He's not working for anyone else. The Pope has authorised him to do it, and he did it. And Father Rossini in Toronto, the reason that Father Rossini did it is number two reasons. There's two reasons for that. Number one was that Giuseppe had often gone to Canada and he loved Canada. And he was friends with Father Rossini. And because he couldn't upload it in Rome, because he stopped by those who are watching us, and this is the whole point, that I have been watched for many, many years, dating back to 1990, when I was first in the face of the Mossad, because I called the Mossad in Ottawa and asked them if they don't believe, come and kill me, which they tried, by the way. And therefore, everything I do is totally watched. This was unaware to the Pope. I'm talking about Pope Benedict. So therefore, once the communication started back and forwards, the Jews knew they lost. That was it. Checkmate, game over. Now it's a delay tactic. So they still push their puppet, Francis the mule into position and ignore the advice of the former Pope, who was still in power, because I said, and he knows it now, and all members of the Catholic community know that a Pope can't retire. This has not been done for 600 years. And the one that retired wasn't the true Pope anyhow, if you want to call history. So, what we now have before us is that here's the Pope acting under the authority of Christ, and his staff then put together the apostolic letter, and based on Christ being back, the order of Christ through the Pope Benedict, then the apostolic letter was loaded up and convinced Father Rossini, who is now missing, as is Father Giuseppe. So this is the whole point of this action. So now we can read this bit of information here, which is only ratified by Francis the Mule on the 11th of July.
Yes, you've probably already seen it's been floating around the internet, and all kinds of claims made about it, etc. I still haven't had somebody, a lawyer, tell us what it means, but anyway. He opens with, in our times the common good is in... as you listen to this, think about what he has done to those that we just mentioned. Is he guilty? Is he guilty? In our times, the common good is increasingly threatened by transnational organised crime, the improper use of the markets and of the economy, as well as by terrorism. It is therefore necessary for the international community to adopt adequate legal instruments to prevent and counter criminal activities by promoting international judicial cooperation on criminal matters. In ratifying numerous international conventions in these areas and acting also on behalf of Vatican City State, the Holy See has constantly maintained that such agreements are effective means to prevent criminal activities that threaten human dignity, the common good, and peace. Just think about those three at the moment. Not only have we the human dignity in the three that we're talking about, but we're talking about the common good and peace, because we're talking about the world here. It all comes to a
Second
stop
coming of Christ.
at the second coming of the Christ that Benedict had announced.
Remember, Benedict is still Pope to this day. This other clown is an anti-Pope.
Anti-Pope, Antichrist. With a view to renewing the Apostolic See's commitment to cooperate to these ends by means of this apostolic letter issued motu proprio, I establish that 1. The competent judicial authorities of Vatican City State shall also exercise penal jurisdiction over a. crimes committed against the security, the fundamental interests of the patrimony of the Holy See. B. Crimes referred to in Vatican City State Law No. 8 of the 11th of July 2013 containing supplementary norms on criminal law matters. Now, we don't know what these are. This is just like the executive summary. In Vatican City State Law No. 9 of 11th of July 2013 containing amendments to the Criminal Code and the Criminal Procedure Code. Now, I assume that's the Criminal Procedures and Code of the Vatican City State that they already have in place. So they've made amendments to it. And it would seem that by reaction of the other group that's out to get him, he did something really stupid. When such crimes are committed by the persons referred to in paragraph 3 below, in the exercise of their functions. See any other crime whose prosecution is required by an international agreement ratified by the Holy See, if the perpetrator is physically present in the territory of Vatican City State and has not been extradited. Now, what I need to know is the Vatican City State part of the International Criminal Court is that part of all of those nations that will cooperate with each other. That part I don't know.
The point is, he's the perpetrator.
Yes, he is the perpetrator. We're talking about the agreement that the Vatican City State has with the rest of the international community, whether they come underneath it, and I'll find that out today when I get to the Internet Cafe. 2. The crimes referred to in paragraph 1 are to be judged pursuant to the criminal law in force in Vatican City State at the time of their commission, without prejudice to the general principles of the legal system on the temporal application of criminal laws. 3. For the purposes of Vatican criminal law, the following persons are deemed public officials. A. Members, officials and personnel of the various organs of the Roman Curia and of the institutions connected to it. B. Papal legates and diplomatic personnel of the Holy See. C. Those persons who serve as representatives, managers or directors, as well as persons who even de facto manage or exercise control over the entities directly dependent on the Holy See and listed in the Registry of Canonical Juridical Persons kept by the Governorate of Vatican City State. D. Any other person holding an administrative or judicial mandate in the Holy See, permanent or temporary, paid or unpaid, irrespective of that person's seniority. And 4. The jurisdiction referred to in paragraph 1 comprises also the administrative liability of judicial, I'm sure they're spelling that wrong there, persons arising from crimes as regulated by Vatican City State laws. 5. When the same matters are prosecuted in other states, the provisions in force in Vatican City State on concurrent jurisdiction shall apply. 6. The content of Article 23 of Law No. 99 of 21st of November 1987, which approves, now they've got it right, the judicial order of the Vatican City State remains in force. This I decide and establish, anything to the contrary notwithstanding. I establish that this apostolic letter, issued motu proprio, will be promulgated by its publication in L'Osservatore Romano, entering into force 1st of September 2013, given in Rome, Apostolic Palace, July 11th, 2013, the first of my pontificates. So there you have it. My
That is, incidentally, the 11th of July was a solar eclipse that occurred in 1991 in the Gulf of Mexico. I was down there, by the way.
Sherry's birthday. All right, guys, that's it. That's it. Later, gators.